Activating. Good evening, this is Pine Leaf Needles, and welcome to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And tonight we have with us Draculetta.
Hey, everybody.
Etheros.
Hey.
You're really excited tonight, I see. Endang.
Hey, everybody.
Sithrith.
Hello.
And tonight we have an unexpected guest, Pash, from an unexpected vidcast.
Good evening.
Good evening, and welcome to LOTRO Players News.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I think
And,
it's about to start over again.
and now, I'd like to know how you got into LOTRO and became involved in the community.
Okay. Well, I've been playing LOTRO, I guess, for about 5 and a bit years now, and I stumbled across it, probably a little bit by accident. It was one of those sort of late drunken Amazon purchases. I've been a big Tolkien fan since I was a little nipper, and I think I had The Hobbit read to me when I was about 7 years old. And back in those days, it was sort of early ZX Spectrum type games, so I got into The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, which are these sort of text-based adventures. But if I'd have actually read that game spec in any more detail on that drunken night, I probably wouldn't have actually purchased it, because there was no way that the machine I was operating at that time could really run it properly. So I sort of loaded the game up. It took absolutely ages for it to load. But even though I was stalling really, really badly every time I'd sort of move in and out of new zones, and particularly if I went over bridges, I'd always fall off them, But I really loved the game, and it was great, really, just to be sort of walking around in Middle Earth after all those years. So the first character was a minstrel, Pashquar, and he died really, really early, because when I first got into it, I was so keen to get out there and explore all of Middle Earth that I sort of didn't pay any attention to things like leveling. That was all alien to me, because I've not really done any MMOs or anything before. So I just took him straight out of Archer into the Midwater marshes, and he died pretty instantly. I'm probably one of the few LOTRO players that's actually managed to kill a character off at level 1. I think one of mine got killed by one of these superflies in Kellum, But I've sort of learned to play a little bit over the years. Still probably not the best person to have in your fellowship. I'm sort of far better probably at the role playing type activity than I am at the gaming side of it, to be honest. But to me, it's all about the world and all about the characters. So I've got I think it's just over 60 characters at the moment over various servers. Each one of them's got a story written about them, and these days I guess I sort of largely split my time between Gilrain, which is one of the old European servers, and Laurelin, which is again European server, but largely a role-play.
Now, I have a question, Pash. Have you ever run into Pine Leaf on any of your characters before?
I haven't. No, it's amazing. There's every chance at some point or other we probably have bumped into each other, but I would have recognised the name, surely.
Okay, because he always wants to know that, so I just wanted to make sure to ask it before him this time.
To be honest, there's every chance if any of you have ever run into a Pash on any one of the servers, that was probably me. Usually, probably the one dying. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So how did you get around to creating an unexpected vidcast?
Well, it was something. It was largely around the time when CSTM finished. I just thought it would be quite interesting to look at something to do as a replacement. And initially, I was thinking around doing a podcast, but sort of two things really stopped me from doing that. The first one was I wasn't very good at talking, so I thought that was probably a really bad thing to do. The other side of it as well was it was around the same time as when you guys started up this podcast. So I thought, having listened to it, there's no way I could do it better than the way that you did it. So I thought, what else could I do that would be a little bit different? I'd always been keen on writing stories and writing poems, and with all these sort of 60 characters, I thought I had a fair amount of material that I could use. So I just started writing poems initially around some of the characters, and then just setting them to videos, and turned it into a sort of a weekly show. But it's very hard to do that often, so it was quite a drain in terms of time. So I've sort of basically sort of moved away a little bit from doing it every Sunday like I was doing initially, to it'll be a little bit more of a as regular as I can do them type show, I think, going forward.
All right. You think you ever have any chance to matching Mystery's number of characters?
Has she got more than 60, is she?
Well, I think she's got at least 20 accounts.
Yeah, well, give it a few years. I guess that's 16, 5 and a bit years, isn't there? So there's still time to go.
Well, see, we just need to have Pash run the Fellowship Walk, and then he will have way more than Mist's characters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You got a point there. And with a role player like that, except in this case, the Fellowship Walk might not make it all the way because he'll probably get killed. Actually, no,
Yeah.
Mystery's also an expert at getting killed. Forgot about that.
Yeah, I should say actually I've got a lot better at that. I think I've got a couple of characters that have now managed to get up to sort of about mid-50s without dying yet. So I'm obviously getting slightly more skilled at playing than I used to be.
So if I remember right, Pash, it was like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks after you started your podcast, we actually got you on the LOTRO Players. Or maybe it was a little bit after that, but it was pretty early on your show.
It was the second one, actually. Second show we got on. Yeah, and to start with, I had this sort of it's a great idea of it being about sort of 20 minutes each week, and it was great. I had loads of material coming through, bouncing off around in my head, but it was quite difficult to maintain that, so I sort of slimmed it down. So it's usually around 10 minutes now, and that's probably enough for people as well. There's only so long you want to listen to somebody talking in a squeaky high voice.
Yeah, what I'm most impressed by your show is just how it's different every single week. There's something different about your show, and it's just amazing how creative you are. It's an awesome show.
Cheers, thanks. I really appreciate that. I mean, that was always the aim of it, really, was to try and do something which is a little bit different. And effectively, each week it's just been a case of me sort of sitting down on a Sunday morning, just thinking the first few things that come into my head, writing them down, and then filming it. So it's not a particularly professional outfit. It's always been done pretty much on the hoof. But it's great to do.
Well, you fooled me.
Yeah, then you trying to get yourself out of that trip where you're trying to follow Frodo's step and said, how you end it since they haven't built Mordor yet?
Yeah, that's right. It was really real shame actually, because I was following the timeline exactly, and the last update came out just a little bit too late. Otherwise, I could have carried the journey on for a little bit longer. But hopefully the game will be going for long enough for me to do the rest of that Pash Bay journey at some point in the future. That'll be the aim.
Awesome.
All right, very well. And the much suffering wife.
Yeah. I've got told off by a few people that apparently he's just a bit too mean to her. So that's why eventually I had to sort of change that around a little bit. So from now on, he's going to be the model husband, I think.
Well, he has to be nice to her after she saved her, right?
That's right. Yeah.
The Isengard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Can I just say that I love that conversation we just had?
All right, let's go into gaming news this week, even though there isn't really all that much. And the main bit of news is that they have officially announced, even though it's been hinted at for the last couple of weeks, that they will have the Take the Dwarf Through Moria, a new event to overtake the Take the Hobbits to Isengard, which just ended, well, yesterday for us at the time we're recording this. And just like to tell you that Eldar won this event by having the fastest time. So congratulations to Eldar for their great finish in this and being able to take the Hobbits to Isengard, despite the fact that they would have had to have overcome overseas lag.
The great thing is having so many characters, I can claim that is my server.
Well, unfortunately, that is one server that, well, I have a token character there, but no serious characters there. All right. Anyone have any comments on this about Take the Dwarfs to Isengard?
Well, well, to Moria, you mean?
Yeah, the Mori. Yes, the Mori. Yes,
Um,
I should have Isengard on my head. Yes.
There was some controversy over this because there's you have to have a level 50 character, well, at least 45 character to be able to go through the story part so that you can actually enter into Moria without being ported in or anything like that, which I don't even, according to some people, you can't even be ported in, but I've never tested it to find out. Um, Anyway, they made the Gift of Valar on sale, and I believe it was Sapiens that suggested or promoted it, or some type of thing like that. Definitely the marketing team did, and so that's kind of caused some controversy in the community, as you can imagine.
The suggestion came from a viewer on the chat. I'm pretty sure on
Right.
that because
Well,
I watched that live stream.
yeah. Like on the live stream for where he was announcing the Moria one, he was saying that he had been talking about maybe doing the through Moria one on a previous stream and saying, like, people were asking him, like, oh, well, how are you going to get your character to 50 or whatever? Are you actually going to level it all the way up? And he said, no, he'd use the Gift of the Valar. And apparently some people were like, oh, we wish we could get Gift of the Valar because it wasn't in the store at the time. So when he announced the through Moria, he said, okay, now Gift of the Valar is also in the store, 25% off. Moria is also 20% off.
Which I think if it had been left at that, I wouldn't have had really much of a problem with it. I think from what I've heard, it was mentioned more than that time, though it kept being brought up, which kind of tied it to that sale promotion too much
Yeah.
for what is meant to be a community-oriented event, which is, I think, where most of the problem is.
Yeah, I definitely felt like in the stream, the main focus was on the Gift of the Valar being back in the store rather than that they were going to be going through Moria. It seemed like, oh, look, Gift of the Valor is in the store for 25% off, but because we're doing this thing. Like, so yeah, that was definitely the focus, it seemed like.
Do any of you have a problem with them having this in a place outside of Eriador? Meaning anywhere that's gated by this sort of bare minimum level content? Because theoretically,
If they would have done this first, yes. But I think because they already did take the Hobbits to Isengard, I mean, unless you have like some totally different event that's not like taking some race to somewhere, how many other areas can you do really? I mean, that's part of the problem
Right.
is that, Moria is blocked off because of the way that the story goes, and that's been a problem with the Fellowship Walk when CSTM was trying to go through that. That was a problem with the Fellowship Walk when we were trying to think of goals to go further along, and it's just kind of a little bit of an issue, I think, but I don't think that it's too much because most people don't join in the game unless it's on their server. These chats, I think, for the majority of the community are just a chance to talk with Sapiens and talk with the developers and, have that interaction between the players and Turbine. So,
Right. There's a big question. Like, a lot of people are, like, complaining about it being through Moria because you have to be level 50. A lot of people are saying that these runs are meant for everyone to participate in. But like you're saying, I don't really think they are meant for everyone on the server to participate in because that's, first of all, not realistic.
Too much lag.
Yeah, if everybody on the server participated all at once, it would be horrendous and nobody would have any fun. And so I really think the main goal is to interact on Twitch and talk to people in what am I trying to say? Like, talk to people live, and the whole server side interaction and competition is just kind of a positive side effect of the way they're doing these live events.
one side note though that I just thought of is that potentially this could be a significantly shorter event than Take the Hobbit to Isengard, because they're starting.
Dies.
Well, that's true, and I don't know if they've established a limit on deaths or anything like that. But they're starting at the gate of Moria and going to, you know, in I guess like right outside of on the other end,
Kara Skeleton,
which
I
is
believe,
barely in
yeah.
Lothlorien, I guess. But
I think it's right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, that first like I don't know third of Lothlorien is still kind of sort of considered Moria because of the enemies that are there. I don't know why there's quests for Moria that are still in that part of Lothlorien, but there are. So I don't know. Anyway, it could be a significantly shorter event, so there could be a lot more shenanigans going on, assuming he's wanting it still to go on for an hour or however long.
I believe he said on one of the streams that the intention long term is to have the Isengard this and maybe a third one at some point being kind of alternated around. So they have these consistent events going on. I think like when we eventually get to Gondor, you might have one for that, going from say Past the Dead to Minas Tirith or something like that. That might be an interesting eventual one.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and back to our previous discussion, Locate does point out there's plenty of time to get to level 50 before the event begins. So,
Yeah. It's not like
I
you
think-
have to use the Gift of the Valar. Like, you can just level up to 50.
Yes. Now,
I mean,
well,
I'm doubting that there's really anyone who would buy it because of this
Yeah.
or for it, for that exact purpose. But I think there might be a few people who wanted it just because they saw an opportunity that maybe they could get it back in the store to actually use it.
Yeah, I can see that.
that's most likely. All right. Any other comments before we continue?
I'm just glad that they thought of something to do to continue to keep engaging the community, and I hope they don't ever stop these.
Oh yeah,
Because,
I think he said that he's planning a dev roundtable next week too.
yeah,
Yeah, that'll be
that
interesting.
makes me excited.
Oh, that should have some
And
interesting news
I
in
think
it,
he
we
said
hope.
something about having just general videos of him leveling his dwarf just casually, streaming.
I doubt
which is
there'll
actually a
be
really good idea.
much news at all in those, though.
No, but it's
Well-
still it's better than not having anything.
It is, I agree.
All right. Now, Rowan also had a couple of posts in the forum that some people found interesting. One is he said that in what they're thinking of doing in the long term after the ring is destroyed and Mordor falls. And there he said that we're primarily focused on the Scouring of the Shire and Minas Morgul as post-Mordor plot points. There are a lot of options. So people were discussing what are possibilities, what we could do after the ring is destroyed, and he's thinking that right now those are two possibilities that they are discussing at the moment. Obviously, that's a bit in the future before they're going to commit themselves to anything on the matter.
Do you guys think that we're going to go into Mordor?
After it's just the ring is destroyed, yes.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, yeah, most likely there are there'll probably be plenty of places to clean up in Mordor, and Minas Morgul is
In
well,
Moria. Or Mordor, not Moria.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not too far in. Do you think we'll go
Yeah,
like
it's not too
deep
far.
into Mordor? Or?
I think we might be sent to where Barad-dûr used to stand, and to maybe Mount Doom, where Sauron's thing is, if there's anything left of it after it, you know.
Yeah, we might go into, like, just double check to make sure everything's broken or whatever.
I mean,
Or
at the
look for-
very least, they haven't had the opportunity to do like a completely evil zone since Angmar. I mean, you could argue for Moria, but you know that's a stretch. I think you know Angmar
And
is
Isengard used to
the.
be a good place, which is different. So
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, it's not. It still has like the. You can still see how it was a good place in
yeah,
Isengard.
that's what I mean. Like the first pure evil, really,
Yeah,
is
and
Angmar, and then
Angmar and then Mordor. So I'm excited to see what they do, but I'm more excited for Gondor since it's closer.
One interesting thing we might have to do is there is the lake country in southern Mordor, which
Nurnen.
Aragorn gave to the former
Yeah.
slaves. I think someone has to liberate that place in order to give it to
Yeah.
the slaves.
Good point.
One thing
And
that
slaves probably aren't going to be great governors to begin with.
One thing that does really surprise me though is that he's already publicly speaking that they are primarily focused, meaning that they've, discussed it and gone through about what they're going to be doing post Mordor already. I'm
Well,
surprised
I wouldn't be
they.
surprised if they've been thinking about that stuff for ages. Like they have to have a
Yeah,
roadmap
and
of what's gonna
there's
happen.
been like leaks of roadmaps for basically since LOTRO started, but I'm just surprised that he's been this open this, early on. But I don't know.
I think the main reason is people have been speculating for a long time that as soon as we destroy the ring, Lotro is done. They're not going to make any more updates. They're shutting it down. So he's saying, yes, they are considering stuff.
Yeah,
That
but
is, I think,
Scouring.
of it.
this suggests that there's only like two places, and then LOTRO shuts down.
He does say there are a lot of options, which
Yeah,
Yeah, he
because there's a
does.
lot of
scouring
He
we
does.
the scouring we kind of taken as a given because we knew that one at least. Minas Morgul was kind of interesting to me because not a lot of people mention that one as somewhere we could go, and I believe in the books it's mentioned that they don't actually deal with it immediately. They kind of just break the bridge and then move on. And considering the history of that place, it's going to take a while to deal with it.
That's true.
And most likely we'll end up.
Zinger from the
shouldering-
chat says that we're going to rescue Magma Sméagol.
Rescue Magma Sméagol.
That I want to see. That'd be hilarious. And then Leonor says, I think we will clear a spot in Mordor in an epic offensive battle. And I'm assuming he's thinking kind of like how the films. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Rangers need to get unionized.
Uh,
If you're alive. at
they
the
have to
end
do work
actually,
first before they can form a union.
It's going to be heartbreaking though, going into the damaged Shire. That would be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Oh, the scouring,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think if there's any time they're going to revamp the Shire, that'll be it, is when they go back for the scouring.
Well, most likely that'll be a different version of the Shire.
Right, but they
but
might revamp the old version.
they
so
that might be
they
the
can
time,
do
exactly. That might be the time
new,
when they go
like, the
back.
scoured version.
Mm-hmm. Because they built Isengard with the 3 stages in mind. They didn't necessarily do that for the Shire.
Yeah. I think
I'd
we've seen the tech now they have that they could do it.
Mm-hmm. And the Shire is starting to look old now that we've gotten into the second half of Rohan. It kind of made the Shire look
yeah.
dated.
Yeah.
The first half, not so much, but
Graphically, at least.
the second half, it's really starting to look dated now.
Yeah, now that we've got Western Rohan and we've got those nice, pretty rolling plains and all the flowers, and the Shire kind of has similar rolling plains, but very dated tech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
LZ from the chat
Right.
says, Heightbold quests in Mordor.
I actually wouldn't mind those as much, just because having that big volcano in the background would look great. Because
Maybe-
we haven't seen anywhere in LOTRO yet that kind of has that in it yet. I mean,
Has a
Angmar
volcano
kind
in
of
it?
had it. Yeah, it has a volcano in it.
Mount Doom housing.
I mean, there's gonna be
Doom housing.
Well, if you think about it, their goal is to finish the story they're trying to tell. Once we get to Mordor, that'll be done, so they can put that housing system right there, right in the mountain, and have a lava Sméagol yard pet,
Housing item.
and yeah.
Your yard.
I'm just saying, there's
And then
possibilities
after
there.
that, we get eagle mounts.
Exactly, yeah.
Magma Sméagol mounts.
Oh, this is getting weird. His other post was during a discussion of perhaps future potential PNVP maps, and he there said is the latest discussions. No, he just says latest discussions. He doesn't say we're making definite plans or anything like that. Latest discussions for PVMP have centered around Osgiliath. It's too far out to make predictions.
I wish that they just either A, wouldn't talk about it, or B, have something absolutely 100% definite. Because they've teased a PvP map ever since like a year after the Ettin Wars. They've been teasing a new map ever since the year after launch of LOTRO. It's just been ridiculous, and they need to either make it or do like what they did with housing and say, yeah, we're never going to create a new map. Do one of the two.
Yeah.
I can
Rowan just
sort of
seems like. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I can sort of agree with that because they have promised I say promised, like they're swearing it in blood and stuff, but they have said that I think previous 2 expansions there was going to be a new PvP map for, I think it was Rise of Isengard and Rise of Rohan, and they've pulled out both times.
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of understand that you shouldn't get people's hopes up at this point. That said, if they were going to do it, Osgiliath would be the best place for it.
It really would be the best place, especially if they try to. I think it'd be cool if when they build Osgiliath, they build it kind of like some of the other places, like say an Anuminos type area, but then allow PvP in there as well. In addition,
Yeah.
that would be
capture the flagship
absolutely
stuff.
amazing if there were
And it'd be
NPCs
super
fighting.
lore appropriate.
Yeah, have
The-
all these NPCs fighting, and then also have the players fighting as well to turn the tide. That'd be amazing.
I think the best suggestion I saw in the thread that this is in, I think, was to have 2 separate layers for Osgiliath. One with the PvE stuff, because people are going to want to go there. It is a major lore area, and to do questing and all that. And then a second that is the exact same map, maybe changed a bit for PvP balancing, and then have that with the PvPers in it. So you could say have like a horse or some item you interact with, time traveling barrels and stuff.
Or
to get into the PvP.
even
version.
better, have like the left side of the city be a PvP map and have the right side of the city be the other, because the city's big enough to where I think you could do that as long as you somehow warn people. But if they can't do that, then I think that would be the next best thing. I really don't want it to be just a PvP area, because I don't know. I feel like that the story needs to go to Osgiliath.
Yeah, I can see them doing like a PvE side or PvE, like where you're doing quests to like help prepare the Gondorian soldiers for like an oncoming siege. You do all those quests, and then there's like a time travel. Oh, pick up this barrel or whatever, like for Helm's Deep, and then that time travel thing takes you to the PvP where the siege is happening or whatever.
And that's where the siege mechanics they've been talking about would really come in handy, because that's a place where it would actually be used.
Exactly.
Very well.
Draculetta says, think of the money savings for heating in the winter on the house in Mount Doom.
Yeah.
Well, that'll certainly save. Now the cooling in the summertime is going to be a bit.
There's no air conditioning in Middle Earth, Pine Leaf.
Look on the bright side, you don't have annoying neighbors.
What do you mean?
You've got like the Nazgul like
there.
right next to you, and you have like there's all
Well, I
sorts of
presume they
annoying
all-
neighbors.
Well, that's a different thing, because I assumed via the story that most of Sauron's stuff
Yeah, that's true.
died.
Yep.
Although the mouth of Sauron never actually got an official conclusion. Hinted.
Mhm. Yeah. That would be pretty cool
Can't
if they
imagine they're going to
expanded.
do anything with that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I
Mm.
think they can't resist that one.
Yeah, they just love those little lore strands that they can take and run away with.
I wonder how they're going to portray the mouth of Sauron visually.
Creepy, I
A
bet.
giant mouth.
Pretty good at creepy looking mobs.
Especially
Yeah.
in DDO more so than even LOTRO.
We have more freedom there, I guess.
Yeah.
Although,
Well,
some-
let's face it. Some of them are creepy just using basic DDO rules.
they
Yep.
must have more, yeah.
Cave claws anywhere. Cave claws are gross looking.
Deep claws are worse. I think they have that really annoying or creepy noise that's kind of like
Oh,
a gulp,
yeah.
but it makes me feel ill. Hate those things.
All right, let's go into the store sales. Draculetta.
Free sample of the week through June 5th is a +5 Hope Boost token for 90 minutes. You get one of those per account. Hope4 is the coupon code. Hope4.
We
Once
could have
again-
used that earlier.
Yes, we could have. Could have used a bunch of those, actually. Also this week, 20% off expansions and expansion quest, skirmish instances, enhanced XP supply.
Oh
Uh-oh.
no.
And
Dracula.
stuff that he
So
said.
enhanced
and
XP
things.
supply, the token of Hornburg, and mark acquisition boosts, and for a limited time, as we said earlier, 25% off the Gift of Valor. Now through June 5th for the. So
Can I
therefore,
say how happy I am that this is like the first sale in ages that doesn't have LI stuff in it?
Yeah.
Yes, but
Because
there
I'm
will
very
be
happy.
LI stuff to complain about later in the show with Elros.
Oh,
yes.
I'll take
Yeah.
my. I get it.
All right. Well, unless you want to think about the fact that you can use marks in order to buy LI enhancement stuff.
Yeah, well.
All right. So it looks like Dracula's headset died, so we will now continue on to the player news.
So much player news.
Yes, we have a
So
great deal
much.
of that. So we'll begin with CSTM's 2014 Spring Festival Guide, which that has been a staple of CSTM for quite a number of years. And in this case, they're talking about changes they made with the Spring Festival. And in this case, it's talking about things like shrew pets and how they changed the map to the hedge maze. Actually, I think we discussed the hedge maze map also in a later article on Lotra Players News also.
Yep.
So
I
there,
didn't actually
that's the next story, in
realise.
fact.
I didn't realise that hedge maze had actually changed. I thought I was just going senile for a while because it took me about sort of fifth run through. I realised it was actually different.
Yes, it is. Yet it has changed a little bit. So therefore, I see ESTM posted 3 stories: one about the festival guide, one about Golden Star's version of the updated hedge map, and a little article about how to rename your pet shrew, because getting shrews is one of the highlights of the Spring Festival.
That's right.
And they have various different types of shrews that you can get. There's one of them that's an easy one to get, and the others, from what I hear, are a little bit tougher. I don't know how many shrews people have gotten here so far, or if people have been boycotting shrews.
I think I've got about 60 dusty shoes now.
Really?
You have dusky shrews?
Well,
Not
something
the
like that,
spot-
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, because I believe the spotted ones are the easiest ones to get.
Right, it's the
Yeah.
maze.
I think I've gotten about 5 or 6 spotted shrews at this point.
Right.
Back to our previous conversation, the Lotro collection says that the Mouth of Sauron equals Pac-Man. Just like to point that out.
Need to include the sound effects.
That needs to be a parody.
So little oathbreakers following him around trying to kill him.
Oh, yeah, and they're probably not like, Aragorn's Oathbreakers. They're probably independent Oathbreakers that Turbine made up, That's probably
There
what's
we
going
go.
on
Lotro minigame.
Yeah. All right. In addition to Golden Star's map, we also have a map of the maze that was done by Draculetta. Unfortunately, he's not here to talk about it since his mic is down, but there he shows you the map, the revised map, and he marks the signs, the elves, the tween spawning points, and where you can find your dire beer if you need it.
Yeah, and Golden Star actually linked that in either on social media or in her article, I don't remember. So she seemed to think that it was pretty good as well, so I definitely think everybody should check it out.
Very well, thank you. And our next is that they have announced the 10 bands that will be playing in 2 weeks at Weatherstock. And they are Under the Sunlit Sky, The Shades, The Rolling Kegs, the Runic Knights Orchestra, The Breakfast Club, Die Meisterbaden von Brie, A Rock in a Hard Place, Muck and Fuddle, Noten Zembrer, Noten Zauber. Oh, I can't speak German all that well if you haven't figured out
You
that
did
already.
way better than me, Pineleaf.
And the Remediators.
So
Those
it
are the 10
looks like that there's 4 or 5 returning bands and 5 or 6 new bands. So it's good to see new bands coming and joining up with Weatherstock.
Right, and I know that Shades are returning, the Runic Knight Orchestra is returning one, Breakfast Club is returning, the Meisterbotten is returning, Rock in a Hard Place is returning, and the other 4 I'm not familiar with, so they could be new. And we will be seeing over the next couple of weeks, they'll be having their own concerts, and there'll be announcements of the upcoming concerts at LOTRO Players. So if you keep track of our website, try to keep track of when the various concert series events will be, because they'll probably be given up with only a couple of days' notice. We also have an article by Braxwolf. And Andy, could you take care of this one? On
Yeah.
Turbine Middle Earth is?
Yeah, so Braxwolf basically wanted to straighten out once and for all who Middle-earth Enterprises was, who the Tolkien estate is, and what Turbine has to do with them all. So, several months ago, he actually went and did research by going on a guest host on a podcast and realized that everything was getting all mixed up, and even on the news we sometimes get the terms mixed up. Basically, the Tolkien estate is, J.R.R. Tolkien's estate, his grandchildren and his son, Christopher Tolkien, controlling the remaining rights they have. But he actually did give away the rights to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings over to Middle-earth Enterprises, which was known as Tolkien Enterprises a while ago, which was even more confusing. But it's now known as Middle-earth Enterprises, and basically that's what Peter Jackson, that's what Warner Brothers, that's what Turbine is getting their rights from. It's not from the Tolkien estate, and I think even Turbine has misspoken about which one is which a couple times. Because they don't have to go to the Tolkien estate to get rights for it. They just have to go to Middle-earth Enterprises, and then they try to work things out with the Tolkien estate just to make sure that they don't get sued, which hasn't worked out so well so far. But but that's a side note. So yeah, that's kind of clearing it out, and then obviously Turbine is just the people who make LOTRO. But yeah, it was a great article. I recommend everybody read it just so you can be sure who's who, what's what, and learn a little bit of history at the same time. So I recommend everybody look into that.
All right. Thank you, Andy. And we also have some tricks with legendary items, which was written by Kaylee Starshine. And Sithrit, could you discuss this?
Sure. So basically, she wrote a really great guide, and it covers a whole bunch of the different aspects of legendary items, such as like what you do with shards, which is good because I didn't actually know what to do with shards because I ignore them. But but that's just me. When to deconstruct your weapons, how to deal with Forge Masters and Relic Masters. It's a really long guide, so you should definitely read through it because legendary items, as we've discussed before, are kind of complicated. And so you really should just read through this whole guide because it's got a lot of information and it goes over all the finer details of the whole legendary item process.
Did anyone else notice that in like half the images there's an angry Dunlending in the background? Just like to point out,
about the legendary
he
item system,
is
that's
just
all.
angry. Drac, you're back. He's just angry about
Don't react to that.
just angry about the legendary items as well. That's right.
Yeah, there's a picture. The caption says that creep was holding out on me. I know it, and she looks really sad. And in the background is just like super grumpy Dunderlinding with his arms crossed. He's probably like, oh, why do I have to be a legendary item NPC? Ugh.
I always wanted to be a stable master, but Turbine said no.
Oh, yes. We already have a stable master here. We don't need another one. Right. So, anyone
So-
have anything that they learned in particular about this one?
Oh, that's a different way of phrasing it, Pine Leaf. Because
That
things.
I learned that Carlias Sunshine knows a lot more about legendary items than I do.
Yes, definitely.
That's what I learned.
I learned what shards are
Alright.
for.
You learned what shards are for.
I tend
Yes.
to just ignore legendary item stuff in general, though, so I don't know how useful it'll be for me.
Yeah, there is that. And I have on a couple of occasions. I remember one time where I was desperate for a weapon when I reached level cap and there were none in the auction house. So I actually used shards in order to create a spear because I'm a warden and of course I like spears. That's-
Yes, we know Pine Leaf.
Yes, you know that. Yeah, yes, you know that.
So,
So-
Ethelros, did this guide help you out with legendary items?
I'll be honest. A lot of this stuff I did previously know, or at least have a general idea about. If you aren't really sure how legendary items work or the whole system, this is a great guide for it because it explains pretty much everything you need to know. Unfortunately, it also highlights a significant problem with allies, which being that they are obtrusive as heck.
Yeah, definitely. It just highlights
And-
how complicated they are.
Yeah, and as great as this guide is, it's not going to make me like allies any more than I hate them. I really do. And there are two main reasons for that. The first being that while the grind isn't too bad, it's not impossible to deal with, as the guide explains. You have to do it every single time the level cap goes up. And we're going to have 2 level cap raises this year. So we're going to have to make 2 separate allies, assuming you're going to bother the first time.
Yeah, assuming you bother the first time. I remember
I'm-
that
Okay.
I remember a couple years ago when Rohan came out, I wrote a guide for just bridles, and that took 3 parts. So that's how complicated things get. And that was just bridles.
Yeah, bridals are just a whole other thing that I pretty much ignored.
Yeah, a
need
lot of people ignore them.
The guide's
Yeah.
going to help me because I don't understand them at all. Stop.
The second problem I have with allies that this didn't really solve, and it's pretty much a simple one, is they just aren't fun at all. Like, I can't think of a single time I've actually enjoyed anything to do with the ally system.
Since
now
Isengard,
at this
I
point-
completely agree.
Yep.
Now, at this point, when I get to that level, although I don't really level characters much anymore, when I get to that point where I have to go through all that stuff again, I just sigh. I sigh every time, and it's very tiresome. I'm actually thinking with my burglar of just foregoing the whole system completely and seeing how I get by. I'm figuring
That'd be
it'll work for
interesting.
landscape stuff at least, but
When the classes were overpowered, I dropped my allies immediately. I got rid of
Yeah.
them, and I didn't miss them. It was still way too easy though. But I'm thinking about trying that again with the current difficulty and seeing how that works.
with your lawmaster,
No, not with my lore master because I'm having a hard time without them on there. But with my champion, I think I can get by without him.
yeah, that's just the other thing. We'll see how that goes, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it probably depends between classes because certain ones have legacies that are just really important,
Yeah.
and then others don't seem to have. They're more just modifying skills you already have.
Yeah, the champion, half of your ally points are basically for incoming healing, so it's really not as important as some other classes are.
Yeah. I know there's one in specific Lawmaster Legacy that I just can't do without, which is the Staff Strike cooldown. I need that one just to be able to hit my skills more often. And it's kind of annoying for me to go by when I'm getting a new ally to go without that for even a bit.
I know for me, it's the legacy to reduce the time of ambush on the warden.
Yes, I know you love that skill, Pine.
Yeah, I love that
Try to
skill.
use it every time we go in the group. But yeah, that's the end of my griping.
Yeah, I feel like we
Alright.
could fill like a whole episode just picking apart the legendary system.
Which we
Yeah.
have.
You know, I
Trying
don't
to,
think
because it's kind of hard to pick apart.
it's not so much the system that bothers me. It's just so many of them drop that you don't feel that legendary.
Exactly.
That's a thing
That's
too,
my
yeah.
biggest issue with the system. If they do it like, it'd be so much simpler if they just do it not necessarily like War Seeds, like you don't have to have a tree for it, but just give us just one weapon and don't make us go. Like I'd be fine. I'd be much more okay if from the start they made it to where you find maybe not all the weapons we find, but you know a good portion of the weapons we find, but we keep our weapon that we start out with. I think that would
Yeah.
make it be a lot cooler. Because yeah, right
It's kind
now
of hard
legendary items
to-
are more common than normal weapons, to be honest.
They
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the problem with it, is that when they're so easy to just drop and pick up a new one, and you can't really customize them so much, it's kind of hard to get attached to one you have and actually
Yeah.
make a history with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If you
because the
just drop
lifespan
everything
on a weapon
else.
is very small. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Moderate
Very
Power
well.
says, I always end up with the legacy of reduced fun. And that's pretty much everything I have.
Legacy of reduced fun.
But see, if you
I
say
always
things like
max out
that,
one.
if you say things like that, then that makes it more fun. So it kind of cancels itself out.
All right. Very well. We also had in Lotro Cast episode 64, Lions and Tigers and Bjornings? Oh my. Ending. What's this about?
Yes, Lotro Cast returns after literally 6 months of a hiatus because of classes that he was at. He now returns and he talks about just about everything major nerdy that's gone on since then, from sci-fi to fantasy to stuff going on at Mythgard with the Tolkien professor to Lotro. He talks about it all, and I recommend checking it out. It's a very fast hour and you'll enjoy listening to it.
All right. Thank you, Ending. And we also have a nice article written by
Terry Edwin.
about Tara Edwin, and in fact, she's part of our group that we have on Friday nights where we're on Silverload playing our least favorite characters.
He's also in the chat.
And also in the
Also-
chat just about every week that we've been doing live streams, it seems.
Right. So Teradwin wrote one about Follow Me, a guide to Lotro's follow mechanics, because this is something that is much in people's minds when you consider what's been happening on the Take the Hobbits to Isengard that's recently finished, and of course it'll be even more dire during the Moria runs, because if you're not careful on how you treat the person following you, you're going to have a following person go down very quickly into a pit.
Reminds me of that one bug that apparently used to exist for War Steeds, where if you set someone on follow, you would just turn around and bolt the other direction. I didn't actually see that happen, but I heard about it and it sounds hilarious.
That was a fun bug, I have to tell you. That was awesome.
Yeah, there
So-
were a couple of weird things with War Steeds and Follow, yes.
I tell you what is great is that the when you use the stables at the moment, the shrews actually follow you.
Oh yeah, they start running it.
Actually keep
they
up.
look great. Yeah, they do.
That's awesome.
It's impressive.
All right, yes. And also, Sithrit, what about this week's outfit?
So this week's Lotro outfit is called Dwarf of the White Mountains, and unsurprisingly, it is a dwarf. or not White Mountain. Sorry, the Iron Hills. Sorry. That's what I meant to say. But so yeah, so it's basically an armored dwarf that's kind of outfitted more for traveling through dangerous areas because, as you know, going from the Iron Hills to Eriador is kind of full of bad, not so nice creatures. So a dwarf would have to be well outfitted for that. So it's very heavily armored rather than the last dwarf outfit I did, which is more kind of cloth and casual wear, I suppose. And so yeah, that's about it.
All right. And thank you for another fine outfit. And then we had Locho Players Adventures episode 17. They are huge.
That was a great missed impression, Pine.
That
Yeah,
was.
that was yes, that title came from Mist, or when she saw the size of some of the slugs inside of Cardoom. And yes,
Considering
they
she
were.
lives in Australia, I'm surprised she doesn't have any there that big.
Yes.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the one thing that's
It's-
not ginormous in Australia, I guess.
Apparently, the slugs aren't enormous in Australia. Nope.
That and ho-hos, and that's about it.
Right. Well, ending. What's this week's video highlight?
Well, Pine Leaf, this week's video highlight is actually a wonderful thing done by the Lonely Mountain Band, where they took the questionable live-action trailer that Turbine made, where there's very much so mixed feelings about that in the community, and he put a fantastic song to it, and it just fits perfectly. And I don't care if you just absolutely hate the live action trailer as much as Drac hates Epic Battles. It is worth watching this again because the music is just amazing, and I recommend everybody watch this because it's just fantastic.
All right. Thank you. And this is to remind everyone that episode 50 of Lotro Players News is next week. And Andy, you wrote a little article announcing this, I believe.
Yes, finally. If this is the same article that's been out for a couple weeks now, but we do want you guys to write in with your comments, thoughts, favorite moments, really anything you want us to read on episode 50 of Lotra Players News, and send them in to lotraplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com. Whether it be audio files or written messages, we will be happy to play them on or read them on Lotro Players News, episode 50, which is next week, finally. Next week!
Next week, yes. So if you're on the live stream, be prepared to have a long night.
Yes, but we hope you do
Yeah.
join us in the live stream for at least part of the show because, well, we get lonely, and it is going to be our celebration of episode 50. And there are going to be several guests, including some of the people that are in the chat right now. And it should be a great show, so I recommend everybody try to tune in live, but if you can't, be sure to download the episode because it'll hopefully be one of our better ones. So tune in for that next week.
Right. We don't have a pick for this week, but we do have a question of the week, and I believe Sithrith is going to suggested this one, so she'll handle it this week. So Sithrith, what is the question?
All right, so this week's question is, have you ever deleted a character? And what level, what class was it, and why did you delete it? I don't do questions usually, so Pine Leaf, go.
All right, very well. When I first started the game, I was pretty random in how I was naming my characters. And it wasn't until the release of Moria, when I created the first version of Pineleaf, on the day Moria came out is when I created Pineleaf, that I started my Pine series, so that having my characters named Pine. So every character I created prior to the release of Moria has since been deleted. And I've created other characters to take over from them. So it's sort of what you would call the Pine Leaf rename. In other words, instead of asking Turbine to rename my character, I essentially created a new character and started from scratch, and got rid of the old ones.
Interesting. Ethelros.
Oh God. So to start off with, way at the beginning, when I first started playing Lotro, I rolled a hunter on a server I don't remember the name of, and the only thing I remember about him is his name, which was Ethelwright, Wright, which is weird, and the fact that he had that plume hat. That's the only thing I remember about him. When Lotro went free to play, which was a few months after that, I think I made a new account, or I forgot which server he was on, and I haven't played him since. So that probably counts as me deleting him, I guess, since
Sure.
he pretty much doesn't exist for me anymore. After that, I kind of have an extensive list of characters I delete because I tend to do that when I get bored of characters. I just delete them and then start over. So to start off for the highest, I guess, I've deleted a level 75 captain, a 75 minstrel, a 55 hunter, a 51 hunter, a 51 berg, 40-something guardian, 30-something captain, and over a dozen characters below level 30.
Wow.
All for
That's
pretty much the
intense.
same reason that, yeah, I just get bored of them. I have no attachment to any character really except my original Lawmaster, who is not getting deleted at any point.
Cool. All right. Pash, how about you?
Well, it's a no-no for me. You know, so literally, as soon as I've written a biography about them, there's no way I can delete them. I think I did delete. I deleted one level 4 or 5 once which I didn't get attached to, which is like a captain early on. And similar to Pine Leaf, it was because of the fact I hadn't called it Pash, and I suddenly realised that afterwards that I always call him Pash. So he did disappear. But aside from that, no, they're all. Yeah, as I say, once they've got a story, I can't delete them. I can come to attach to them. Even the ones I don't play, they still sit there in the background.
Cool. Ending.
Yeah, so my very first experience with Lotro actually involved basically I played through a character through the just like the intro cinematic, got into the intro zone, logged out because I don't remember, but something came up that I didn't think was gonna happen because I expected to just play through this new game, Lotro that I found. Came back to it and every time I logged into Lotro on that character, the screen would just go black. No idea why. I couldn't get the game back on that character, so obviously deleted him after more than a week of trying. Created a character on a new server, never had that problem again. So I don't know what it was with that character, but it had issues. And
Wasn't
then
meant to be.
apparently. And then on Imladris, I created my champion, which is my main now, and also a few other characters. Had to leave those characters though because aside from my champion, which I transferred over to Landrival, because I found out how much better of a server Landrival is, just because of the way that, for me anyway, because of the way that the community is on Landrival. It's just unlike anywhere else in MMOs really, and definitely in Lotro. So those kind of count like deletes, but I really just abandoned them and I'm never going to return.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, I'm finding
yeah.
the same thing out about Landrival and Windfall at the moment. Draculetta, how about you?
I never have.
Really?
Yep.
That's
That
Feels
impressive.
like a monster.
Well, I thought about
Whoa.
being really freaked out when you said after the first few characters, and then you kept going, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong?
To be
Yeah, I
fair,
thought
most
I
of them were
was-
very young characters, so it's fine.
You named quite a few level 75s.
Yeah, 275s is nothing to.
I thought I was crazy for deleting a level 63 elf hunter, but you have taken the cake.
The captain I deleted, who was at 75, was because of Helm's Deep. I wanted to re-roll him to relearn the class because there's so much that changed for that. The minstrel I just got
I
bored
can
of,
see that.
and I needed the space, so he went.
The highest
He
character
was a
I've
little hobbit
abandoned
Yeah, so for
a lot
me,
of mine tend to die out at Moria or in Moria before they revamped it. I
Oh, yeah.
get it out there.
yeah, I have not even bothered to count the number of alts that I've deleted between levels 1 and 30. Sometimes I just make a character and I don't even enter it into the starter instance, and it just sits in my character selection screen for months, and then I just delete it because I never get around to playing it. But yeah, ton.
I still get attached to those ones. Even those level ones, you know?
I have a question
But
that just dawned on me. Atheros, would you like allies more if they didn't also start at Moria?
I think I would hate allies no matter where they started. Honestly, it doesn't
Okay.
really matter to me what point they start. It's just the fact that they exist.
They exist. That's their
I'm sure it's the
problem.
same for Drac with certain other things too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like Epic Battle.
all right, so the second half of the question is, have you ever used or would you ever use the undelete character option? I've thought about using it a few times on my level 63 character that I deleted because I was actually known by that name, that character's name, for a while in my kin. In fact, the character's name was City, which came from a typo of Sith, because the H and the Y keys are very close together. And my kin still calls me City, but that character has been long since deleted. And I've occasionally thought of undeleting her for, like nostalgia purposes because of that, but then I remember I have an 83 Hunter now, and there's no point. So, gonna change up the order a little bit. I guess, Drac, you don't get to answer this question because you never deleted anything. Although, if you did delete something, would you use the undelete button?
I would probably say it depends on the price of said undelete item. Maybe I would if I really, really thought it was price worthy, but I would probably say no.
Isn't it less than a character transfer? I want to say it is.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like $10.
Mm-hmm.
No.
All right.
Maybe if
Good
it was
to know.
like $5, yeah, but $10, no, I don't think it's worth it. Just recreate the character.
Cool. All right, Athelros, would you ever delete one of your many characters?
Unfortunately, they would likely all remain dead for the reason that the way that I level my characters is I roll them and then I play nothing but them with the very rare exception. I dedicate myself to that character, get into cap, and then I start over with something else or I go back to a previous character. I'm not really the type who can jump around between different ones, so I would be very unlikely to undelete and then start off a character from that point. Like, say I had a 30 minstrel, if I was given the choice, I would just re-roll a new minstrel and level up the exact same, person or personality or appearance, that sort of thing. I would just do that.
All right, Atheros,
Okay.
I'm gonna present a doomsday situation for you. What if? Hear me out on this. What if Turbine announced in like some amount of time that LOTRO was going to end, and you knew that the only way you would be able to play through the end game again was bringing back that 75 Rune Keeper, and that was the only way you could actually make it back through the game? Would you do it?
You're not giving me much choice here, are you?
It's a
Honestly,
rather
I-
preposterous
Doomsday scenario.
scenario.
I'm not that fond of the Runekeeper. I would probably just not enjoy the game anymore at that point.
Wow. Okay.
Even though I have a Runekeeper that I'm probably going to delete at some point.
Already planning on deleting another.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's level 85, so that would be a new record.
All right. Pash, would you ever undelete any of your characters?
No, if I on the rare, if I actually ever did delete one, I think they'd be deleted for a good reason, so they'd stay deleted. I couldn't see it ever happening, especially when
Alright.
you pay money for it.
Yeah, that's true. Ending.
If I deleted a higher level character, probably, but like I said, the highest I've deleted so far is 45 or so, so you can get to 45 fairly easy these days. It doesn't take too long. So
That's true.
I don't think I'd use it.
Okay, something I will mention quickly is that I just checked. I think this is up to date. It is that VIPs have free undeletes, one per character, or that character, I should say, and premiums that have access for 30 days following purchase of turbine points.
Well, maybe I would use it then if it's free.
And
And
according to Brax on Twitter, because he just said he deleted his first Brax Wolf on Land Roll. He created him as a captain instead of hunter, and apparently it never felt right.
Pineleaf, would you ever use the undelete?
It's unlikely that I would, because so far I've either deleted the character and created a new character to replace it, so because they had the old names that I was talking about, or when I've done it. One example is that on Winfola, the original Pine song that I had was a hobbit, and I eventually came up with an scheme for the character that would fit better as a Rohirrim. So therefore, I deleted the Hobbit version of it and created a new version that was a Rohirrim, and worked on it that way. That had to be back when I was doing a number of poems with skirmishes, and the characters and the poems tended to be of a style more suited for Rohan than the Shire, because they were heavy on alliteration instead of heavy on rhyming. And of course, I'm not going to be able to undelete the old one because it has the same name.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the names. All right. So we've got a couple community answers. Ronnie from the Flaming Bard blog replied that she deleted a level 58 Elven mini because she died a lot. And I hate elves. Would not undelete her. She deserved to die.
Someone almost as bloodthirsty as me.
Yes.
Yes. Almost.
Oh my.
And Roger from Contains Moderate Peril said, yes, a level 59 Hunter, because I realized Mirkwood was coming up next, and would only use the undelete character option if I was using your credit card.
Ooh.
People have some strong feelings about deleted characters.
Apparently so. All right, is that it for the question on deletions and undeletions?
I think so.
All right, then we'll go on to donations, even though we did not receive any. But we would love to have your support, and you can help support LOTRO Players simply by going to the donations page, where you can help support the podcast on LOTRO Players and also help support the site. We have $5 and $10 mentions where you could donate and get a mention on one or all of our active podcasts for an episode, depending on the amount. For $5, you get a mention on the podcast of your choice, while for $10 or more, you get a mention on all of our active podcasts. And this week, we did not receive any reviews on iTunes, and we did not have a featured comment, and no emails. Where's the feedback?
They're
If you
hopefully
want to
saving it
give us-
for level episode 50 finally.
I guess that's possible. But if you do want to contact us, especially for next week's episode 50, you could email us at lotroplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter at LOTROPlayers, Andang at PVMP_Andang, Braxwolf at Braxwolf, Sithrith at Sithrith, Draculetta at Draculetta_72. And if you don't know how these are spelled, I suggest you look at the show notes. Etheros at Etheros, Lilykate at Lilykate Buggins, Mystery at MysteryXOX, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. And Pash, where can we contact you?
Yeah, Twitter again is Pashbo Proudfeet.
Pashbo Proudfeet. At Pashbo Proudfeet.
That's the one.
And you could join us live at LOTRO Players Adventures, which goes live every Saturday at 5 p.m. server time, and LOTRO Players News, which goes live every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. server time, and that is United States Eastern Time. You could join us by going to lotroplayers.com/live, and be sure to join us in the YouTube chat. Thank you for watching, and this is Pine Leaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.